On October 1st, 1961, CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network, went on the air in a small TV station. Now, 60 years later, CBN is broadcasting around the world. Throughout these 6 decades, one of the pillars of CBN has been its commitment to the State of Israel and the Jewish people. It began with a commitment and a vow from CBN's founder, Pat Robertson.
While Superbook took the gospel to Japan, CBN prepared to go on the air in the Middle East. For decades, Pat had always felt a connection to one nation in particular. On June 5th, 1967, the Six-Day War began, and Israel would reunite Jerusalem under Jewish rule for the first time in 2,000 years. On the same day, CBN broke ground on the renovations for the old studio at WYAH.
Israel is the chosen people. They are the chosen nation. And so in 1967, for CBN to break ground at the same time the Six-Day War was for that enormous significance that the two are now tied together.
That bond was strengthened when Pat traveled to Israel in 1974 to interview Prime Minister Itzhak Rabin.
What would you ask of the United States?
Well, if one wants to see any future to the free world in the right sense, to the democratic way of life, I believe without strong America, the future might be not as hopeful as it can be with strong America.
He knew that if America was strong, Israel would be taken care of. Well, I went back to our group that was with me up on the Mount of Olives where we were staying, and that night I made a vow that I personally, in any ministry that I was associated with, regardless of the cost, that we were going to stand with Israel.
For this area, let's do that for the whole, just lay our hands on it.
Pat began praying for a way to broadcast into Israel.
Wonderful people.
Years later, he was offered a TV station in southern Lebanon.
And here was one on the border of Israel, and it was being given to me. But I knew that I shouldn't put my hand on something in that volatile region without it being cleared for sure by the Lord.
Pat prayed for a sign for confirmation, specifically that he would receive something of gold as evidence that he should take the station. Days went by, but no gold, until he checked his private mailbox.
Inside, there was a letter, and there was several pictures of gold coins, 24-karat gold, struck in a mold by Pablo Picasso. And he said, I want to make these available to CBN. That was the evidence. So I said, all right, we've heard from the Lord. So we got the station.
Pat Robertson, in the name of Messiah Jesus, I'm pleased to hand you the keys to Jesus Star of Hope television station right here in the Holy Land.
Spring of 1982, Middle East Television, a CBN-owned and operated Channel 12 TV station, was put on the air.
With access to 12 nations in the region, METV used popular programming like NFL football, soccer, and the hit TV show Touched by an Angel to attract viewers. People then stayed tuned for the 700 Club.
METV was the pioneer. Nobody was doing that, and it had awesome impact among the Arab-speaking population to the north towards Lebanon and to the east of Syria and Jordan and across Israel.
For us here in the Jerusalem Bureau, it's been a privilege to serve with Pat Robertson and stand with Israel and the Jewish people.
Alpha.